Hey there, friends. If you're lucky enough to be gardening in Texas, April is the perfect time to roll up your sleeves and plant a wide range of crops. But before we jump in, let's talk about something really important. Texas has USDA Hardiness Zones from 6B to 10B, and this means what you can plant depends a lot on where you live in this big, beautiful state. I'll show you a map now. Take a second to find your city or town and remember your zone. This will be key as we talk about the best crops to grow this month. And hey, if this video gets 200 likes, I'll know that you want more Texas-specific gardening videos. So don't forget to hit that like button. Let's talk about one of the most important parts of spring gardening. Figuring out your last frost date. That's the average time when your area usually sees its last freeze of the year. Once that date passes, it's safe to plant warm weather crops without worrying about surprise cold snaps. This date changes depending on your hardiness zone, and even people in the same state might have different frost dates. Nature doesn't always stick to the calendar, so it's not an exact science. It can even vary year to year. But it is still a great guide for when to start seeds, move seedlings outside, or plant straight into the ground. If you decide to gamble by putting your plants out early, I recommend keeping a careful eye on your local forecast. I usually find that the 7-day forecasts are usually accurate as far as minimum temperatures go, but after that, it loses accuracy quickly. Check the forecast every day. As I'm talking, I'll show you charts and calendars to help you figure out your zone's average last frost date. Grab a pen, write it down, and use it to plan your planting schedule. It'll help your garden fill out and save you from the stress of surprise frosts. If you live in zone 9 or warmer, you can pretty much plant anything right now. If you're in a cooler zone, you can still plant whatever you want, but indoors. But wait until your frost-free date to move things outside, or be ready to protect your plants if it gets cold. Every year, I find myself taking a little bit of a gamble with my potatoes. Since they're buried a few inches deep, they take time to break the surface. Last year, I planted them weeks before my last frost date, and it worked out just fine. But every year is different. If you want to play it safe, fleece row covers or a thick layer of mulch, leaves, straw, or even compost can help protect your young potato plants from an unexpected frost. Burying your potato plants completely seems wrong, but it will actually help a big deal. Now, let's start with cool weather crops. These veggies love the early spring chill and are perfect for planting outdoors right now. If you're in zones 9 or 10, go ahead and get these in the ground sooner rather than later. Onions and onion sets. It's getting a little late to start onions from seed, but it's a great time to plant onion sets. Just make sure that you buy the right type for where you live. Long day, short day, or intermediate day onions. The right match makes a big difference in how well they'll grow. Radishes, turnips, and beets. These root veggies love cool weather. Plant 3 or 4 seeds per cell and then transplant them when they're about an inch tall. Don't worry about thinning them. They actually grow better packed together with friends. Parsnips and carrots. These are best sown directly outdoors so you get nice long straight roots. Unless you're planting black carrots, don't plant these in April. They'll bolt straight away. If you like gardening disasters, check out my video from last year to see what went wrong and when I did that. Spring onions and leeks. Start these indoors in a group, kind of like a mass nursery. Once they've sprouted and grow a bit, a few inches tall, you can transplant each seedling individually later on. Leafy greens and brassicas. You can start lettuce and arugula the same way that you do onions. It's also a good time to start early cabbage, spinach, broccoli, and cauliflower, either indoors or straight outside if you're in a warmer zone. Broad beans and peas. Peas either for shoots or 4 pods. These are nitrogen fixing plants and are great for early planting. Direct sow them outside for an early harvest and to improve your soil. Soaking the seeds overnight helps them sprout faster. Last year, I saved a bunch of pea seeds and plan to use them as bed fillers this year. Basically, to grow in between the slower crops like lettuce. And once the main crop fills in, I'll cut back the peas, leaving their nitrogen in the soil. If you're new to nitrogen fixation, check out the video I made explaining how these plants take nitrogen from the air. And I want to leave you with a teaser on how they do it. They have help. Celery, coriander, parsley, and dill. These cool weather crops do great in the spring. Start celery indoors since it takes a long time to germinate. And don't bury the seeds. They need light to sprout. They're unique that way. So just press them into the surface gently. For herbs, you can start them indoors or outdoors depending on your zone. Warm weather crops. Now, let's talk about what we've all been waiting for, the ones that love the heat. Unless your nighttime temps are consistently above 50 degrees, it's best to keep those crops indoors or in a warm greenhouse for now. Tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. These heat lovers do best when started indoors. I recommend planting them in 72 cell trays and keeping them warm under grow lights. If you live in zone 7 or colder, you might need to bump them up into 3 or 4 inch nursery pots later on in April, depending on how fast your plants grow. Your grow light will be the major factor here. I recently found a great LED light for pennies on the dollar. On Facebook Marketplace. It's a major upgrade from the T5 bulbs that I've been using for the past few years. Melon, squash, pumpkins, and zucchini. If you're in a zone cooler than 8, it's a good idea to start them indoors in a 4-inch nursery pot. They grow quickly, so you want to give them room. And that said, I usually wait until May myself and sow them directly outside since I don't have a lot of indoor space. So it's totally up to you. Start them indoors now if you can, or wait a bit longer to plant them outside once the frost risk is gone. There's no rush on any of these. Either squash, tomatoes, unless you live in 9 or 10, the sowing window for cool weather crops is rapidly closing. Sweet corn and basil. Both of these prefer warm soil, so I like to start them indoors for better germination. I used to use full-size 10-20 trays, but lately I've switched to 6-cell trays, which are the same size as the 72s I often talk about. They just make handling a little bit easier. I'm growing the Three Sisters method this year, and I'm excited to get these kernels in the soil and growing. Sweet potatoes. Now is the perfect time to start rooting and slipping your sweet potatoes indoors so they'll be ready for transplants when it gets warmer. Growing sweet potatoes is a bit different from what most gardeners are used to and takes some patience. If you want to see how I'm growing mine, check out my most recent weekly garden update. It has been getting great reviews from gardeners just like you. And I can say that with confidence because we're far along into this video and you're still here with me. Potatoes and sunchokes. In early April, you can plant first early potatoes. These are like red-skinned varieties that you can find at the grocery store. Bury them with about 4 inches of soil above them. Depending on your soil temperature, it could take 2 to 4 weeks for them to sprout. This is why they can go outside even for those who live in zone 6 and colder. In mid-April, it's time for second early potatoes like Yukon Golds. And later in the month is perfect for main crop or storage potatoes like Idaho varieties. I started chitting my Yukon Golds last week and will be waiting until April 1st to start chitting my russets. You don't need seed potatoes unless you're going after very specific type. I usually just grab mine from the grocery store, but make sure that you buy organic potatoes. That's critical. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but it took me years of failed potato plants to realize this. Regular ones, like the ones that I was using, are often sprayed with sprout inhibitors, which will prevent them from growing properly. Warm season flowers like French marigolds, zinnias, sunflowers, and dahlias can also be started now. These blooms love the heat, so start them indoors or in a greenhouse before planting them outside. If you plant tomatoes, you may want to also plant French marigolds. I am. And if you want to know more, this is one of my favorite videos. If you're lucky enough to garden zones 8 through 10B, you might be able to sow these warm weather crops directly outdoors. But personally, I recommend starting them indoors anyway. You'll get stronger, more reliable seeds that way. Thanks for watching. If this guide helped you out in any way, hit that like button and subscribe for more gardening tips tailored to your zone. And hey, if we hit 200 likes, I'll take that as a sign that you want more zone-specific planting advice. So give it a thumbs up if you found this useful, and I will see you in the next weekly garden update.